This YouTube video was produced with the assistance of artificial intelligence. Specifically, the visuals were generated using ChatGPT, the script was composed using Claude AI, and the narration was synthesized using Edge-TTS. Induce. Definition: to bring about, cause, or persuade someone to do something, to produce a particular effect or condition through influence or stimulation. Collocation: induce sleep, induce a reaction, induce labor, induce change, induce someone to. Synonym: cause, provoke, trigger, stimulate. Example: the medication is commonly used to induce sleep in patients suffering from chronic insomnia. Financial incentives were offered to induce experienced professionals to relocate to underserved rural communities. Extreme stress can induce a range of physical symptoms, including headaches, fatigue, and elevated blood pressure. Content. Definition: the material, information, or ideas contained within a document, speech, or creative work also means feeling satisfied and at ease with one's situation. Collocation: content creation, digital content, content of a report, content with, original content. Synonym: material, substance, subject matter, satisfied. Example: the quality of digital content has become a key factor in attracting and retaining online audiences. Reviewers praised the content of the report for its depth of analysis and practical recommendations. After years of pursuing rapid career advancement, she found herself content with a quieter and more balanced lifestyle. Deficit. Definition: the amount by which something, especially money or resources, falls short of what is required or expected, a shortfall or deficiency. Collocation: budget deficit, trade deficit, deficit spending, attention deficit, reduce the deficit. Synonym: shortfall, shortage, deficiency, gap. Example: the government announced plans to reduce the national budget deficit through a combination of spending cuts and tax reform. A growing trade deficit raised concerns among economists about the long-term competitiveness of the domestic manufacturing sector. Research suggests that chronic sleep deficit can have a cumulative negative effect on cognitive performance and overall health. Neglect. Definition: to fail to give proper care, attention, or effort to something or someone, to disregard or overlook a responsibility or duty. Collocation: neglect responsibilities, neglect a duty, neglect children, suffer from neglect, neglect the importance. Synonym: disregard, overlook, ignore, abandon. Example: the building had been neglected for decades, resulting in severe structural damage that required costly renovation. Managers who neglect the importance of employee well-being often face higher turnover rates within their teams. The report revealed that hundreds of elderly residents in care facilities were suffering from serious neglect. Possess. Definition: to have or own something as a personal quality, asset, or characteristic, to hold or be in control of something. Collocation: possess skills, possess knowledge, possess qualities, possess the ability, illegally possess. Synonym: own, have, hold, maintain. Example: successful leaders possess the ability to inspire trust and motivate others during times of uncertainty. The candidate possesses an impressive combination of technical knowledge and practical industry experience. It is illegal to possess certain controlled substances without a valid prescription from a licensed medical professional. Obscure. Definition: not clearly understood, expressed, or well known, difficult to see, find, or interpret, also means to conceal or make something less visible or comprehensible. Collocation: obscure reference, obscure meaning, relatively obscure, obscure the truth, obscure origin. Synonym: unclear, vague, unknown, hidden. Example: the artist remained relatively obscure until a major gallery exhibition brought her work to international attention. The document contained several obscure references that required extensive research to interpret accurately. Complex legal language can sometimes obscure the true meaning of a contract, making it difficult for ordinary citizens to understand. Pollution. Definition: the introduction of harmful substances or contaminants into the natural environment, causing damage to ecosystems, human health, or the quality of air, water, and soil. Collocation: air pollution, water pollution, pollution levels, reduce pollution, pollution control, noise pollution. Synonym: contamination, degradation, impurity, toxicity. Example: rising air pollution levels in major cities have prompted governments to implement stricter vehicle emission standards. Industrial water pollution has devastated aquatic ecosystems and threatened the livelihoods of local fishing communities. The municipality introduced comprehensive pollution control measures to improve the overall quality of life for residents. Movement. Definition: the act or process of changing position, location, or direction, also refers to an organized effort by a group of people to achieve a particular social, political, or cultural goal. Collocation: social movement, political movement, freedom of movement, movement toward, grassroots movement. Synonym: motion, campaign, drive, shift. Example: the civil rights movement brought about transformative changes in legislation and public attitudes toward equality. There has been a significant movement towards sustainable business practices across multiple industries in recent years. The grassroots movement gained widespread support through effective use of social media and community organizing. Welfare. Definition: the health, happiness, and general well-being of a person or group, also refers to government programs designed to provide financial assistance to those in need. Collocation: social welfare, welfare system, welfare state, animal welfare, welfare benefits, child welfare. Synonym: well-being, prosperity, benefit, security. Example: the government expanded its social welfare programs to support families affected by the economic downturn. Animal welfare organizations campaigned for stricter regulations on the conditions in commercial farming operations. Ensuring the welfare of children must remain a top priority in all educational and social policy decisions. Benign. Definition: gentle, kind, and not causing harm, in medical contexts, refers to a condition or growth that is not cancerous or life-threatening. Collocation: benign tumor, benign condition, benign nature, benign influence, benign environment. Synonym: harmless, gentle, mild, non-threatening. Example: the medical examination confirmed that the growth was benign and did not require surgical intervention. Despite its benign appearance, the policy had unintended consequences that negatively affected small business owners. The organization has had a largely benign influence on the local community through its charitable activities and outreach programs. Protocol. Definition: an official set of rules, procedures, or guidelines governing how something should be conducted, especially in formal, diplomatic, or scientific contexts. Collocation: safety protocol, follow protocol, strict protocol, protocol for, breach of protocol. Synonym: procedure, guideline, code, convention. Example: all laboratory staff must strictly follow the established safety protocols when handling hazardous chemicals. A breach of diplomatic protocol during the state visit caused considerable embarrassment for the host government. The hospital implemented a new protocol for patient discharge to reduce the rate of unnecessary readmissions. Ratify. Definition: to formally approve or confirm an agreement, treaty, or decision, making it officially valid and legally binding. Collocation: ratify a treaty, ratify an agreement, ratify the Constitution, ratify a decision, formally ratify. Synonym: approve, confirm, endorse, validate. Example: the Parliament voted overwhelmingly to ratify the International Climate Agreement after months of public debate. All member states must ratify the treaty before it can officially come into effect under international law. The Board of Directors formally ratified the merger agreement following a thorough review of the proposed terms. Refuse. Definition: to indicate unwillingness to accept, do, or comply with something, to decline or reject a request, demand, or offer. Collocation: refuse to accept, refuse permission, refuse a request, flatly refuse, refuse to cooperate. Synonym: decline, reject, deny, turn down. Example: the company flatly refused to disclose confidential financial information without a formal court order. Several nations refused to sign the agreement, citing concerns over potential threats to national sovereignty. The committee refused the funding request on the grounds that the project proposal lacked sufficient supporting evidence. Diagnosis. Definition: the identification of a disease, condition, or problem through examination of symptoms, evidence, or data, also refers to the conclusion reached through such analysis. Collocation: early diagnosis, accurate diagnosis, receive a diagnosis, diagnosis of, make a diagnosis. Synonym: identification, assessment, evaluation, determination. Example: early diagnosis of the disease significantly increases the likelihood of successful treatment and full recovery. The physician used a combination of laboratory tests and imaging scans to make an accurate diagnosis. Receiving a diagnosis of a chronic condition can be emotionally overwhelming, and patients often benefit from professional counseling. Discrimination. Definition: the unjust or prejudicial treatment of individuals or groups based on characteristics such as race, gender, age, or religion, also refers to the ability to recognize fine distinctions. Collocation: racial discrimination, gender discrimination, discrimination against, combat discrimination, workplace discrimination. Synonym: prejudice, bias, inequality, intolerance. Example: legislation was introduced to combat workplace discrimination and ensure equal opportunities for all employees. Racial discrimination remains a deeply rooted social issue that continues to affect communities around the world. The organization conducted training sessions to raise awareness about unconscious bias and systemic discrimination. Proclaim. Definition: to announce or declare something publicly, officially, or formally, often with great emphasis or authority. Collocation: proclaim independence, proclaim victory, publicly proclaim, proclaim a state of emergency, proudly proclaim. Synonym: declare, announce, assert, pronounce. Example: the newly elected leader proclaimed a commitment to transparency and accountability in all government operations. The nation officially proclaimed its independence following decades of colonial rule and political struggle. Environmental advocates loudly proclaimed the urgent need for immediate action to address the escalating climate crisis. Deduce. Definition: to arrive at a conclusion or judgment through logical reasoning based on available evidence or known facts. Collocation: deduce from, reasonably deduce, deduce that, deduce the meaning, deduce the cause. Synonym: conclude, infer, reason, determine. Example: from the available financial data, analysts were able to deduce that the company was operating at a significant loss. Investigators deduced the cause of the system failure by carefully examining the sequence of events leading up to it. Students were asked to deduce the meaning of unfamiliar vocabulary from the context provided in the reading passage. Incentivize. Definition: to motivate or encourage someone to take a particular action by offering rewards, benefits, or favorable conditions. Collocation: incentivize participation, incentivize investment, incentivize behavior, incentivize innovation, incentivize employees. Synonym: motivate, encourage, reward, stimulate. Example: the government introduced tax credits to incentivize private investment in clean energy infrastructure. Companies that incentivize employees through performance-based bonuses often see higher levels of productivity and engagement. The scholarship program was designed to incentivize academic excellence among students from disadvantaged backgrounds. Independent. Definition: free from outside control, influence, or dependence, able to think, act, or function on one's own without relying on others. Collocation, independent investigation, independent thinking, financially independent, independent review, independent media. Synonym: autonomous, self-sufficient, self-reliant, unbiased. Example: an independent investigation was launched to examine the circumstances surrounding the collapse of the financial institution. Developing independent thinking skills is one of the primary goals of a well-rounded university education. She worked tirelessly throughout her 20s to become financially independent before starting her own business. Brutal. Definition: extremely cruel, harsh, or violent, unpleasantly direct and honest in a way that may cause discomfort or distress. Collocation: brutal attack, brutal honesty, brutal regime, brutal conditions, brutal force. Synonym: savage, ruthless, harsh, merciless. Example: the documentary exposed the brutal conditions endured by workers in unregulated overseas factories. Survivors of the brutal conflict shared their testimonies before the International Human Rights Tribunal. His brutal honesty during the performance review was difficult to hear, but ultimately helped her identify areas for improvement.